Please support by subscribing to our channel. Your support helps us create more beautiful and romantic Reborn stories. Thank you for stopping by. We love you. I have always believed that family is the closest thing to destiny, that the people born beside you share your blood, your tears, and your fate. Maybe that belief was my first mistake. My name is Roman, a young Corian man who grew up thinking that as long as I held my twin brother's hand, nothing in the world could break us. But looking back now, every memory, every smile, every moment of shared laughter, it all feels like an illusion carved out of loyalty I gave too freely, and love that was never returned. My story begins with loss, but it will not end with it. I was 16 when my parents died. The world became unbearably quiet that day. Quiet in the way cemeteries are, quiet in a way that pressed against my ribs until I struggled to breathe. Beside me, my twin brother Heyman cried too. His tears were loud, choked sobs, trembling breaths, fingers digging into my coat. I held him, thinking pain made us equal. I thought grief would make us closer. Even then, I didn't know jealousy burns deeper than sorrow. We lived alone from that day. Two brothers, two shadows cast by the same sun. I was the older twin by only 12 minutes, but Heyman treated those 12 minutes like an insult from the universe. Still, I cooked for him. I washed his clothes. I shared everything, my food, my savings, my dreams. When he got sick, I stayed by his side. When he failed, I encouraged him. When he succeeded, I cheered. But Heyman watched me the way a wolf watches a deer, quiet, calculating, waiting. I didn't see it. Not for years. Roman, slow down. You'll finish the entire project before I even start, Heyman complained, tossing his folders on the table as I typed rapidly in the office. I smiled at him. If you want help, just say so. I can stay late with you. His jaw tightened. Just a flicker. Too fast for me to notice back then. I don't need help. Okay, I said gently. But I don't mind helping. You know that. He didn't answer. But I thought his silence was acceptance. We worked together at the same company. I was naturally hardworking, always arriving early, always volunteering for extra tasks. Heyman was talented too, but unfocused. Easily frustrated, easily insecure. When my CEO called me into his office one morning, my heart hammered in my chest. Roman, the CEO said, smiling wide, you've exceeded every expectation. Your performance, your loyalty, your leadership, they are exceptional. I'm promoting you to department lead. Me? Promoted? My ears rang. I bowed deeply, overwhelmed. Thank you, sir. I'll do my best. The first person I ran to tell, of course, was my brother. Heyman. I burst into the break room, breathless with happiness. I got promoted. He turned slowly, eyes unreadable. Congratulations. But something cold flickered beneath his voice, something sharp. I hugged him tightly. We did it. We really did it. This is our win. He didn't hug back. He whispered, so soft I almost didn't hear. It should have been me. The first crack in our bond appeared that day. So small. So quiet. So easy to overlook. I thought he was just disappointed in himself. So I tried harder to support him. I brought him lunch every day. Helped him revise project drafts. Shared industry books with him. But the harder I worked to lift him up, the deeper the resentment in his eyes grew. One night, as we sat together reviewing files, he suddenly grabbed the papers from my hands. Do you think you're better than me? He snapped. I froze. What? No. Heyman, I'm helping because you pity me? His voice shook with anger. Because poor little Heyman can't do anything unless Big Brother saves him? Heyman, I've never thought that. He glared at the floor for a long time before shoving the papers back. Forget it. I brushed it off. I always did. Because I loved him. Because he was my twin. Because the idea of losing him frightened me more than anything. Because family to me meant forever. But family meant nothing to Heyman, not the way it did to me. Life moved on. The years passed quietly, filled with both sunshine and unspoken thunder. Then one winter morning, Heyman collapsed. I rushed him to the hospital, my heart breaking with fear. Please save him, I begged the doctor. I'll pay anything, do anything, just save him. For days, I slept on the cold hospital chair, holding his hand, praying silently. When he finally opened his eyes, he whispered, Roman, you stayed? Of course, I breathed, tears falling. I'll always stay. I didn't know that even then, as weak as he was, jealousy still twisted inside him like a vine. But I kept loving him, feeding him, working harder to pay all his bills. smiling whenever he needed comfort, choosing him before myself every time. I didn't know that every gesture of love only deepened his hatred. Success found me unexpectedly. Through years of work, discipline, and perhaps luck, I rose in the company and eventually started my own business. It grew fast, faster than I expected. Within a few years, I had wealth, a home, a reputation. And I took Heyman with me through it all. A new house? He moved in. A new car? He rode beside me. A new opportunity? He benefited too. If I ate steak, he ate steak. If I bought clothes, I bought too. But nothing satisfied him. Sometimes, I would catch him staring at me with this hollow expression, like he was memorizing everything I had so he could one day steal it. I laughed it off, because family doesn't betray each other, right? I was wrong. It was a rainy afternoon when I met Jahak, a young, strikingly handsome Corian man with sharp eyes but a gentle smile. He appeared in my life like a soft breeze after years of tension. He came to my office with a proposal for a business partnership. His professionalism impressed me, but it was his genuine warmth that stayed with me. One evening after a meeting, he stopped me at the door. "Roman," he said quietly, "I know this might sound sudden, but I like you." I froze. "Like me?" His expression softened. "Yes. I've admired you for a long time." A man confessing to me? I wasn't shocked, just terrified. I'd never dated. Never loved romantically. My world had always revolved around my brother and my work. "I'm not sure I know how to be in a relationship," I whispered. "That's okay," he said. "Just let me stay close to you. That's enough." He didn't rush me. He didn't pressure me. And slowly I fell for him. We married quietly, just a small ceremony, intimate and warm. For the first time since childhood, I felt truly cherished. But love is fragile when betrayal is close. And betrayal lived under my roof. A few months into my marriage, Heyman called late at night. "Hyung," his voice trembled. "I can't stay alone. I feel empty. Please let me stay with you." My heart tightened. No matter how much he hurt me, he was still my brother. "Come," I said softly. "You're always welcome." Jahak didn't object. He smiled, but something in that smile was unreadable, like a quiet ripple on still water. For a while, things were peaceful. Then small things changed. Heyman started skipping work. He began dressing differently, more seductive, more bold. He lingered too close to Jahak. Jahak's eyes lingered back. I ignored it, ignored the warnings, ignored my instincts, because I trusted them. But trust can be the rope that hangs you. One night, as I returned home early, I heard faint whispers from down the hall. Heyman's voice. And Jahak's. Soft. Breathless. Too intimate. My heart seized. The doorknob under my hand felt frozen. I stood there, listening as Heyman giggled. A sound I hadn't heard since he was young. "Are you sure he won't find out?" he whispered. "Roman trusts too much," Jahak murmured back. "He sees you as family. He'll never suspect us." My blood ran cold. Us. The word echoed inside me like a curse. Little did I know that betrayal was only the beginning, that their affair would grow bolder, that their desire would turn monstrous, that they would one day decide to kill me, to erase me, to steal everything I had ever built. But destiny is cruelly kind. Death was not my end. It was my beginning. Sometimes I wonder if the gods gave twins one soul divided into two, one half filled with light and the other with shadows. If that is true, then Heyman and I were destined to destroy each other from the moment we were born. But I didn't know this yet. Not truly. Not until the day the fractures in my home widened into a chasm large enough to swallow me whole. At first, the house felt warm. My husband, Jahak, moved softly around our home with a presence that soothed me. He laughed easily, worked diligently, and touched me gently, as if he were afraid I'd break. And my brother acted like the boy I knew long ago. He smiled over breakfast, joked with me about old memories, and said good night, in a tone I had missed for years. I believed we were happy. I believed peace had finally found us. But peace built on lies tastes sweet only for a moment. Then it turns to ash. Small things I didn't want to see. It began with moments. Moments I brushed aside. Moments I convinced myself were harmless. Like the night I came into the living room and found Heyman sitting too close to Jahak on the sofa. Knees almost touching, their voices hushed. "Oh, Hyung," Heyman said quickly, scooting away. "We were just watching a movie." "Right," I replied gently. "Jahak, you're off work early?" My husband smiled at me. Thought I'd come home and spend time with you. I should have asked why that time was being spent with my brother instead. But I trusted them. So I let it go. Another day, I caught a strange expression pass between them. Heyman had been adjusting his hair by the window, and Jahak stood behind him, eyes lingering longer than normal. I laughed lightly. Are you two gossiping behind my back? Jahak smiled. Never. Heyman smirked. Maybe a little. I didn't sense the poison in those smiles. I didn't sense the way their eyes avoided mine with guilt buried too deep for me to read. The first true warning came on a rainy morning. Heyman, I called from the kitchen. Aren't you late for work? He didn't look up from his phone. I'm not going. What? I frowned. Why not? Stomach hurts. That's the third time this week. So what? He snapped suddenly. You think I'm lying? I didn't say that, I answered softly. I'm worried about you. If you're sick, we should see a doctor. I said I'm fine, he shouted, slamming his phone on the table. The house fell silent. Then footsteps approached. Hey, Jahak murmured, touching Heyman's shoulder with far too much familiarity. Calm down. My eyes narrowed. Heyman, I began. Why is my husband the one comforting you right now? Heyman looked away. Because you're judging me. I'm not. Yes, you are, he yelled. Just because you're successful now doesn't mean you get to boss me around. Boss him around? Was caring now an insult? Before I could respond, he stormed out. Jahak followed. My heartbeat quickened. Why was my husband following my brother instead of staying with me? A question I didn't dare ask out loud. The first time I heard them whispering, it was by accident. I walked down the hallway, heading toward the laundry room. Voices drifted from behind the slightly open guest bedroom door. Heyman's voice low, breathless. Do you think he suspects something? My pulse stopped. Then Jahak's voice, quiet but firm. No, not Roman. He trusts too blindly. A soft laugh followed, seductive, wrong. My stomach tightened painfully. I froze outside the door, blood roaring in my ears. Suspects what? What were they? Then Jahak spoke again, voice turning colder. He doesn't see the things right in front of him. That's why this is easy. Easy. What was easy? I leaned forward, heart racing, but the moment I shifted my weight, the floorboard creaked. Silence. The door opened. Heyman stood there, expression smooth as a mask. Oh, Hyung, he said casually. Needed something? Jahak appeared behind him, smiling politely. Roman, you're pale. Are you feeling all right? My throat closed. Why, yes. I'm fine. I thought I heard. I swallowed. Voices. Heyman shrugged. We were just talking. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. So I smiled weakly and walked away. But my heart felt heavier with every step. One evening, after a long day of work, I returned home earlier than expected. The house was dim, quiet. Too quiet. I reached for the light switch when a soft sound stopped me. A moan. Heyman's moan. And Jahak's voice, low and hungry. My fingers went numb. The sound came from the downstairs guest room. The door was slightly ajar. Light spilled through the crack. I stepped closer, trembling. Heyman, Jahak whispered hoarsely. You're driving me insane. A breathless laugh. Then be insane. For me. Then the unmistakable sound of kissing. Desperate, messy, forbidden. My knees weakened. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. I couldn't exist. Because the two people I loved most in the world were betraying me in the most intimate way possible. I backed away, silent, heart shattering in slow motion. I left the house. I walked through the cold night air, numb and shaking. I didn't confront them. I didn't scream. I didn't let them know I knew. Because some part of me kept whispering. Maybe I misheard. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe this is a nightmare. I was wrong. So painfully wrong. The next morning, I pretended everything was normal. Good morning. I greeted gently as they came into the kitchen. Both froze for a split second too long. Jahak recovered first. Morning, love. He kissed my cheek. His lips felt cold. Wrong. Heyman smirked slightly at me, eyes calculating in a way that twisted my stomach. You're up early, Hyung, he said lightly. I have a lot to prepare at work. My voice sounded normal, but my soul was cracking. As we ate breakfast, they exchanged glances. Secret ones. Smug ones. And suddenly, something inside me shifted. For the first time, I looked at my brother and saw not family, not loyalty, not childhood memories, but danger. And when I looked at my husband, I didn't see love. I saw a stranger. 2 weeks passed like that. And then the final crack appeared. Late one night, I overheard them again. This time, there was no mistake. Are you sure the poison will work? Heyman whispered, voice shaking with morbid excitement. My blood went cold. Jahak chuckled darkly. Slow. Painless. He won't even realize until it's too late. I covered my mouth, body trembling violently. Poison. They were talking about poison. My brother, my husband, planning my death. For money? For love? For jealousy? For freedom? I didn't know. I didn't care. All I knew was that I was going to die in my own home if I didn't run. But before I could move, the floorboard creaked. Both of their heads snapped toward the sound. Did you hear that? Heyman whispered. Jahak's voice turned cold. Yes. My heart stopped. And then, footsteps. Fast. Moving toward where I stood. I ran. I didn't think, I just ran. But as I reached the stairs, someone grabbed my arm. H. Young, Heyman whispered behind me, voice chillingly soft. Where are you going? I turned slowly. His smile was the cruelest thing I had ever seen. You weren't supposed to hear that. I tried to pull away, but Jahak came up behind me, eyes dark with malice I had never noticed before. Roman, he murmured, we truly are sorry. But you're in the way. Those were the last words I heard before the world cracked apart. A sharp pain, a shove, the taste of something bitter forced into my mouth, Heyman's cold whisper against my ear. It should have been me. And darkness swallowed me. I died in the arms of the people I loved the most. But fate wasn't done with me. Not yet. Death is supposed to be an ending. But when my eyes opened again, I realized it was only the beginning of something far greater and far more terrifying. Because this wasn't the world I died in. This wasn't my home. This wasn't the life I had lost. This was somewhere else. Somewhere impossible. Somewhere breathtaking. And somehow, I was alive again. The first thing I felt was warmth. Not the burning heat of poison in my veins. Not the icy sting of betrayal. But soft, gentle warmth, like sunlight pressed against my skin. My eyelids fluttered open. Above me stretched a sky I had never seen before, painted in shades of pale gold and silver, with two moons faintly visible behind the morning clouds. Strange birds sang from the trees. The air smelled of flowers I couldn't name, sweet, crisp, ancient. Where am I? My voice sounded unfamiliar, softer, clearer, as if even my breath had changed. I pushed myself up slowly, and as I did, my reflection glimmered faintly on the surface of a clear pond beside me. I froze. That's me, but not the me I remembered. My hair, once dark and ordinary, was now long, cascading past my shoulders in silken white gold strands. My eyes, once brown, now shone like pale violet gemstones. My skin glowed faintly under the sunlight, smooth and luminous. I looked ethereal, otherworldly, almost beautiful in a way that didn't belong to Earth. So I died, I whispered shakily, staring at the stranger in the water, and became someone else. Was this reincarnation? A second chance? A world beyond the living? Or a cruel illusion? Before I could understand, a voice echoed behind me. Don't move. The stranger in black. Footsteps approached. Soft but confident. I turned slowly. There, standing between the tall forest trees, was a man dressed in black robes embroidered with silver dragons. His long dark hair was tied loosely behind his shoulders. His eyes, sharp, deep, and golden brown like honey melted over fire, watched me with caution and curiosity. He was breathtaking, handsome in a way that stole my breath. Tall, powerful, yet elegant. A presence like quiet thunder. He held a beautifully crafted spear, its blade glinting dangerously. "Who are you?" he demanded. His voice, soft but commanding, calm but edged with danger. A voice that could comfort or kill. I swallowed hard. I don't know where I am. I woke up here. He didn't lower his weapon. "What tribe are you from?" he asked sharply. "Why are you dressed in nothing but ceremonial linen? And why do you have the scent of—" He paused suddenly. His eyes widened, then softened. "You smell like fate." I blinked. "I smell like what?" He stepped closer, spear lowering slightly. "You're not ordinary," he murmured, studying me deeply. "Your aura, your soul, it's unlike anything I've seen." I looked down at myself, confused and overwhelmed. "I don't understand. I'm not from here. I'm not even supposed to be alive." The man's expression changed subtly, curiosity mixing with concern. "What's your name?" he asked quietly. I hesitated. "Roman." He repeated it under his breath, as if trying the sound. "Roman. Something warm curled in my chest at the way he said it. He took another step toward me. I am Min, guardian of the Silver Forest and commander of the Eastern Moon Court. Then he looked directly into my eyes. So deeply I felt seen in a way I never had before. Roman, you're safe now. Safe. A word I hadn't felt in so long that hearing it almost made my knees buckle. Min offered a hand. I glanced at it, steady, strong, waiting. Slowly, I placed my trembling hand in his. His fingers closed around mine with surprising gentleness. Can you stand? He asked. Yes. But when I tried, my legs gave out. Without hesitation, Min caught me, one arm around my waist, the other supporting my back. My chest pressed against his. His scent, clean like pine and cool rain, wrapped around me. You're still weak, he murmured. Don't force yourself. I'm fine, I whispered, though my face was burning. You're not. He lifted me effortlessly. I gasped. Wait. You can barely stand, Min said simply, adjusting his grip. I'll carry you. His arms felt secure. Warm. Strong enough to hold everything I had lost. I buried my face slightly against his chest, embarrassment flooding me. He pretended not to notice. After a moment of silence, he asked, Roman, what happened to you? I stiffened. I remembered the poison. My brother's smile. My husband's betrayal. My pleading voice. Their cold hands. My throat tightened painfully. I died. Min stopped walking. He looked down at me slowly, eyes darkening with something unreadable. Who killed you? I shook my head, tears burning my eyes. People I trusted. Min's jaw tightened, sharp, furious, controlled. But he didn't push me. Instead, he said softly, You don't have to tell me yet. Just know no one will hurt you here. Those words, gentle but firm, felt like a balm on wounds I had never allowed to heal. I nodded weakly. Min carried me through the glowing forest until a grand structure appeared. Tall, elegant, carved from silver stone and dark wood. Moon sigils adorned the entrance. This is my domain, Min said as he stepped inside. You'll stay here until your strength returns. But why help me? I whispered. He looked at me with unwavering calm. You fell from the sky, he said. You bear a soul older than this world. And he hesitated for the first time. I feel drawn to you. My breath caught. Drawn to me? He nodded slowly. From the moment I saw you, something in me moved. It's as if my soul recognized yours. My heart fluttered violently. Min. You don't need to respond, he said softly. Not now. Not yet. Then he lowered his voice, firm and protective. Just rest. I'll guard you. Min placed me gently on a soft bed in a private chamber. Silk sheets, warm lanterns, and the faint scent of jasmine filled the space. Before he could step away, I grabbed his sleeve without thinking. Don't leave, I whispered. He turned back to me immediately. I won't. He sat on the edge of the bed, hands resting calmly in his lap. For the first time, I studied him carefully, his strong jawline, his serene expression, the scar near his collarbone, the quiet fierceness in his eyes. He was anchored, steady, unshakable. Something I had never been allowed to have. Min, I whispered, why are you so kind to me? He smiled faintly, soft, warm, a little sad. Because you look like someone who's lived without kindness for too long. Tears pricked at my eyes before I could stop them. I turned away, embarrassed. Sorry. I didn't mean to. Min gently cupped my cheek and turned me back toward him. It's all right to cry, he said softly. You don't have to be strong here. His thumb brushed a tear away, and the dam inside me broke. I cried, quietly at first, then harder, years of pain, betrayal, loneliness, and heartbreak pouring out of me. Min pulled me into his arms. His embrace was warm, steady, safe. You're safe now, he whispered into my hair. No one will harm you again. I swear it. I clung to him, shaking. When my tears finally slowed, he didn't let go. Instead, he murmured, Roman, I will protect you, even if it costs me my life. Something inside me glowed. A seed of trust. A spark of hope. A warmth I hadn't felt in years. Thank you, I whispered, voice trembling. Min held me closer. You don't need to thank me, he said softly. You were meant to find me. As Min stayed beside me until sleep began to claim me, a realization settled into my heart. I had been given a second chance. A new world. A new body. A new destiny. And a new love, gentle, patient, healing. But deep within my chest, another flame flickered. A darker one. Haman. Jahak. Their betrayal carved itself into my soul, refusing to fade. I wasn't done with them. Not yet. And one day, I would return. I would confront them, and I would destroy them. The first days in this world passed like a dream, or perhaps a lesson. Every step I took, every breath I drew, reminded me that I was alive again, and yet not the same Roman who had walked the earth. This new body, this new strength, this new clarity, it felt like destiny had given me a canvas, blank and waiting. And perhaps, just perhaps, it had also handed me a sword. Min refused to leave my side for the first few days. I won't let you walk alone until you're fully recovered, he said, his eyes sharp and unwavering. Not now, not ever. Your first days here are dangerous if you're untrained. I had to laugh at that. Trained? What am I, some warrior in a fairy tale? He ignored my tone, placing a soft hand on my shoulder. You are more than mortal now, Roman. Your soul has changed. You will learn things you could never imagine before. His words stirred something deep inside me, a mix of curiosity and fear. Change? I whispered. I just want peace. Min's gaze softened, but it was firm. Peace is earned, not given. And in this world, Roman power is the only thing that keeps you safe. Safe. I repeated the word in my mind. Safe. Not like my old world. Not like Haman and Jahak. Here, I could be safe. And more. Strong. Respected. Untouchable. The next day, Min brought me to a clearing surrounded by silver-leaf trees. The air shimmered faintly, and strange patterns, like symbols made of light, floated in the air. This is the Silver Forest, he said, voice calm but commanding. And here, you will awaken the abilities you were always meant to have. I looked at him, confused. Abilities? I can't fight, Min. I don't even know how to. He cut me off gently. Your soul is not ordinary. You have experienced betrayal, loss, and death. That pain has awakened something inside you. Something strong. Something unstoppable. He held out his hand. Focus on your heart. Feel your aura. Can you sense it? I closed my eyes, trying. At first, nothing. Just the wind brushing against my skin. But then warmth. A vibration inside me, subtle but insistent. My chest pulsed, my vision shimmered. A faint light danced on my palms. I feel it, I whispered. Min's lips curved into a rare, approving smile. Good. That's only the beginning. Control comes next. For hours, he guided me. He showed me how to bend my energy, summon strength, and even manipulate the faint light that now responded to my will. Every mistake made my frustration boil. Every success filled me with exhilaration. And every time I faltered, Min was there, steady, patient, encouraging. One evening, as the sun dipped below the twin moons, painting the sky with silver and violet, I found myself sitting alone by a glimmering pond. My reflection shimmered on the water's surface. A beautiful stranger who carried the weight of 2 deaths in his soul. Min approached silently, sitting beside me. You've changed, he said softly. You've grown in just a few days more than most do in a lifetime. I feel different, I admitted. Stronger. Yes. But also angry. At them. At Haman. Jahak. Min's hand rested lightly on mine. That anger is natural. But do not let it consume you. You are not them. You are Roman. And Roman now has a choice, to rise or to be dragged down by vengeance. I swallowed, looking into his golden eyes. I can't forget. I don't think I ever will. Nor should you, he murmured, thumb brushing over my knuckles. But hatred alone will not serve you. Wisdom and patience will. And love will give you strength beyond what anger can ever achieve. His words, gentle yet powerful, burned into me. I realized then that this world had given me not only a second life, but also someone who would stand beside me unconditionally. The days that followed were rigorous. Min trained me from sunrise to sunset. My body, no longer human, adapted quickly. I could move faster, react with precision, and my aura now radiated with power that even startled me. We sparred together in the forest. At first, I stumbled, barely keeping up. But under his patient guidance, I improved. Each movement, each strike, each defensive maneuver honed my mind as well as my body. You are improving too quickly, Min said one day, voice amused but tinged with admiration. Do not make me fear for the safety of others, Roman. I laughed softly. I'm not trying to scare anyone. You could scare me, he murmured, eyes lingering on mine. There was a softness to his gaze that made my heart ache in ways I hadn't expected. And at night, when training ended, he remained by my side. Sometimes we simply sat in silence, listening to the wind, watching the twin moons rise. Other times, he shared stories of this world, tales of warriors and emperors, love and betrayal, honor, and conquest. Slowly, I began to trust not just my life, but my heart. Even as I grew stronger, even as Min's presence healed the old wounds in my soul, the memory of betrayal never left me. Haemin, Jahak. I could still see their faces, still hear their voices. They will pay, I whispered into the night one evening, the twin moons reflecting in my violet eyes. Not today, not yet, but they will pay. Min placed a hand over mine, eyes steady. And when the time comes, Roman, you will not be alone. I will stand with you, and you will strike with precision, not just rage. I nodded. That thought burned brighter than anything else. Revenge, justice, reclamation of my stolen life. For the first time in years, I felt something familiar, something exhilarating, control. And I realized something terrifyingly beautiful. I was no longer the powerless twin who had begged for life. I was Roman reborn. Stronger, smarter, untouchable. And I would rise. That night, as I lay in my chamber, Min's presence beside me felt like the first real home I had ever known. I never thought I'd feel this way again, I whispered into the quiet. Feel what? He asked softly. Loved, I admitted. Safe. Wanted. Min smiled faintly, brushing a strand of hair from my face. You deserve it, Roman. More than anyone I've ever met. I felt my chest tighten. And you feel this too? His gaze was unwavering. Yes. And I will not let anyone, not even death itself, take you from me again. In that moment, I realized the depth of my second chance, not just at life, but at love. And deep within, a seed of destiny took root. I would become unstoppable. I would reclaim my life. And I would destroy those who dared betray me. The Silver Forest had become both my sanctuary and my forge. Each dawn, I rose not as the powerless Roman who had been poisoned and betrayed, but as a being tempered in pain, betrayal, and rebirth. And with each passing day, Min remained at my side, teacher, protector, and slowly something more. I had learned to harness my aura, to bend the energy of the forest around me, to summon strength I had never known existed. Min guided me with precision. Do not let emotion cloud your control, he instructed one afternoon as the wind whipped the silver leaves around us. Anger makes you wild. Fear makes you falter. Calm, Roman. Let the energy flow through you, not against you. I clenched my fists, feeling the hum of power ripple through me. I will control it, I said, voice trembling with focus. I will not fail. Not like before. Good, Min murmured, stepping back to observe. But remember, your power is only part of your strength. Your mind is just as important. Strategy, patience, and cunning will be what sets you apart. He was right. I could grow stronger physically, but if I let hatred rule, I would become no better than Haemin or Jahak. I needed precision, patience, and timing. Night fell, silver light streaming through the leaves. Min sat beside me on a moss-covered rock. He had removed his gloves, revealing long, slender fingers, calloused at the tips from years of combat. Roman, he said quietly, his voice catching me off guard. I've never met anyone like you. Someone who carries the weight of betrayal and grief, yet still trusts, still loves, still hopes. I looked down, ashamed. I try to. I always try. He placed his hand over mine, a subtle touch that sent warmth straight to my chest. And that is why you will survive this world, and why you will thrive. You are not just strong, you are extraordinary. For the first time, I allowed myself to feel something beyond survival. I felt hope. I felt desire. I felt love. And when Min leaned forward, brushing his lips briefly against my forehead, I felt an anchor in my heart, a tether to something unshakable. Even as I healed, the memory of betrayal simmered beneath the surface. Haemin, Jahak. I saw them clearly in my mind, their smug smiles, their whispered words, their poisoned intentions. I clenched my fists. They think they can escape consequences, I whispered to myself in the forest, under the light of twin moons. They think they can destroy me and take everything I earned. They are wrong. They will pay. Min, standing nearby, observed silently. You cannot act in haste, he warned. You need patience, observation, strategy, and you need allies. I have you, I murmured. His golden eyes met mine. Yes, and together, we will make them regret ever crossing you. But it must be precise, Roman. No missteps. I nodded. Every word he spoke settled into my mind like a battle plan etched in steel. Over the next weeks, Min pushed me further. I learned to manipulate the energy of the forest to create barriers and weapons, sense hidden presences and detect lies by aura, move silently, strike with precision, and control my physical form to surpass normal limits. One evening, after successfully conjuring an energy blade that shimmered with silver light, I collapsed to the ground, gasping. Min knelt beside me, offering water. "You've done well, but strength alone will not win your war." I looked at him, chest heaving. "I know, but I need to be ready. I need to be better than them. Smarter, faster, stronger. Everything they are not." He smiled faintly, a spark of pride in his golden eyes. "Good. You are becoming everything I hoped you could be. And more." Despite the rigorous training, Min and I shared quiet moments that reminded me of what I was fighting for. Sometimes we simply sat by the pond, watching the silver moonlight dance on the water. Sometimes he told me tales of his childhood, of battles, lost friends, and impossible victories. Sometimes we simply held hands in silence, letting our hearts speak where words could not. One night, as I rested my head on his shoulder, he whispered, "Roman, you deserve happiness. Not the cruelty of the past. Not the pain you endured. Here, now we will give you that." I closed my eyes, letting his warmth seep into my soul. I never thought anyone could love me again. Not after everything. "You are worthy," he said softly. "More than you know. And I will spend my life showing you that." A fire lit in my chest, not just desire, but resolve. Not just love, but purpose. One night, while meditating under the twin moons, I had a vision, a fragment of the past reaching across worlds. I saw Haman and Jahak, laughing in my old home. The scene was eerily still, frozen like a painting. Haman's eyes gleamed with envy, Jahak's with hunger. And then the vision shifted. I saw the poisoned meal, the slow death I endured, and then, a figure cloaked in shadows, a twisted grin, an image of betrayal that burned into my mind. I awoke with a start, heart pounding. Min was immediately by my side. "They are alive," I whispered, voice cold. "And they think they can escape. They are wrong." Min's hand rested lightly on my shoulder. "Roman, now you see why patience is crucial. We will strike. And when we do, they will pay for every moment of suffering." A shiver of anticipation coursed through me. For the first time since my death, I felt power, not just in my body, but in my soul. I was no longer weak. I was no longer the brother who begged, the man who trusted blindly. I was Roman, reborn, untouchable, and I would reclaim my life. Min took my hand, his grip firm and steady. "No matter what comes, Roman, you will not face it alone. Together, we will see justice done. Together, we will find happiness. And together, we will rise above their cruelty." I looked into his eyes, golden, unwavering, fierce, and I knew the truth in his words. "Together," I whispered. "Always." And under the twin moons, in the heart of the silver forest, I made a silent vow. I would destroy Haman and Jahak. I would reclaim my life. And I would protect this new love, this new home, this new self at all costs. The seeds of vengeance had been planted, and they would bloom like fire. The silver forest had healed me. It had strengthened me. It had reminded me that I was not powerless. But healing alone would not bring justice. Not to Haman. Not to Jahak. And so, with Min at my side, I prepared to return to the world I had left behind. The world of deceit, betrayal, and poisoned hearts. Min guided me to an ancient stone archway, glowing with silver runes. "This portal," he explained, "will take you back. But be warned, the world you knew is unchanged. Only you are different. Only you are stronger." I took a deep breath, hand in Min's. "I'm ready." He squeezed my hand gently. "Then go. But remember, I will follow if you need me. And together, we will see justice done." I stepped through the archway. The sensation was like falling through light and shadow at the same time. My vision blurred, the world twisting around me. When I opened my eyes, I was home. The city was familiar, the streets, the buildings, the offices. Everything was as it had been. But I was not the same Roman who had walked these streets before. I felt the difference instantly. My aura pulsed with power. My senses were sharper. I could feel the intentions of people around me, who was honest, who was lying, who envied, who desired. And in the heart of my awareness, Haman and Jihake, they were still living in my house, still luxuriating in the wealth I had created, still smug, still arrogant, still believing they had escaped the consequences of their actions. I walked through the streets, unseen, sensing them. Haman's envy was a low-burning fire. Jahak's desire for wealth and status was almost palpable. I smiled faintly. The power I now carried would make them pay, Not rashly, not recklessly, but in a way they could never recover from. I began slowly, observing, planning, waiting. I visited my old office under the guise of a consultant for a new project. I could see the way Heyman moved, the way he interacted with employees. He was careless now, thinking he could coast on my former influence. Jahak, meanwhile, had become reckless. He flaunted his influence, sought connections with other powerful figures, and believed he was untouchable. Perfect. I did not rush. I whispered to myself, patience, Roman. Let them grow complacent. Let them overreach. Then strike. The first test came when Heyman tried to sabotage a project, hoping to claim the credit for himself. I intervened subtly. A suggestion here, a minor adjustment there. By the time the CEO noticed the changes, it was clear that Heyman's efforts had failed, and he was exposed for attempting to take credit he did not deserve. Heyman glared at me, suspicion flickering in his eyes. But I merely smiled, polite, disarming. Hyung, he whispered one night as we were alone, voice low. I don't understand. How did you? I only did what was necessary, I said softly. For the company. For the people who trusted us. His jaw tightened. The venom in his gaze made my pulse quicken. Not with fear, but with the thrill of justice taking its first steps. Jahak had grown bold, flirting openly with colleagues, using his charm to manipulate others. I approached him quietly, pretending to be friendly, all the while weaving subtle traps. A misdirected contract here. A leaked rumor there. By the end of the week, his credibility had begun to crack. Small mistakes, unnoticed by the careless, but glaring to anyone watching closely. And I was watching. Roman, he said one evening, the usual confident smile slipping slightly, you've changed. You're different. I allowed a faint, gentle smile. I've learned to see things more clearly, Jahak. And I suggest you take care. The unease in his golden eyes was delicious. After setting the first steps of my revenge in motion, I returned to the Silver Forest to meet Min. He greeted me with a soft smile. I see the plan is unfolding nicely, he said, eyes sharp but proud. Your enemies are not yet aware, but they will soon feel the consequences of their actions. I nodded, leaning against him. I've never felt so alive, so complete. And yet, I know I must be careful. One misstep, and everything could fall apart. Min kissed my temple gently. Then we will proceed with patience. But remember, Roman, you are no longer the weak brother. You are unstoppable now, and the time for reckoning will come. I held the weight of my promise and the warmth of his love. I will not fail, Min. As I returned to the city, the thrill of anticipation burned within me. Heyman and Jahak were powerful, cunning, and dangerous, but they were predictable, blinded by greed and lust. And I had the advantage now. Knowledge, power, patience, and Min by my side. The game had begun. And when it ended, Heyman and Jahak would pay. And I would rise, not just as Roman the betrayed, but as Roman the reborn, unstoppable and untouchable. The seeds of vengeance had sprouted. The harvest was near. And under the twin moons, here or beyond any world, I would reclaim everything stolen from me. The city had not changed. The streets were the same, the offices the same, the very walls steeped in memories of betrayal. But I had changed. And now so would they. I watched Heyman from the shadows, unnoticed, as he flaunted wealth he had not earned and power he had never truly deserved. Every careless gesture, every smug smile, every self-satisfied laugh was a thread in the web I was spinning. Jahak, too, moved with arrogance, believing charm and greed could shield him. But I knew better. I whispered to myself, voice low. They think they are untouchable. But even the strongest chains have weaknesses, and I know them all. It started small. A report subtly altered to make him appear incompetent. A meeting where his lies were exposed to the CEO. Subtle rumors planted among colleagues, sowing distrust. Heyman's fury was delicious to observe. He glared at me once, suspicion and fear dancing in his eyes. Why does everything go wrong? He muttered bitterly, pacing. I allowed myself a faint, polite smile. Perhaps you have underestimated the work that goes into success. His hands clenched into fists. It should be me. Not him. Always me. Yes, I thought. It should have been you. And now, it will be your undoing. Jahak, ever confident, began to stumble. Deals he had orchestrated with false charm fell apart. Associates began questioning his integrity. His golden eyes flickered with unease. One evening, he confronted me privately, attempting to mask panic with a polite smile. Roman, he said smoothly, voice steady, you seem different. More capable. Smarter. How? I studied him calmly, letting a hint of cold amusement touch my lips. Experience, I said softly. Pain teaches lessons. Betrayal teaches more. And I have learned well. His confidence faltered slightly. I could see it, the first crack in his facade. Careful, he hissed finally, voice low. Do not underestimate me. I only smiled. Oh, I do not. That is why I wait. The bond with Min deepens. Even in the midst of plotting vengeance, my heart found warmth and safety with Min. We trained together daily, his presence grounding me while sharpening my abilities. But at night it was different. He would hold me close in the silver forest, whispering promises and soft words. Sometimes I would lay my head on his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart, letting myself be vulnerable for the first time in my life. I never thought I could trust again, I whispered one night. You can trust me, he murmured, brushing a strand of hair from my face. And I will protect you, Roman. No one will hurt you again. I felt tears prick my eyes. I want to believe that. And I do. Because of you. His lips brushed mine briefly, a gentle promise, a spark. Then believe it, Roman. And when the time comes, we will finish what they started against you together. With Haman and Jahak unaware, I began tightening my web. Haman's envy grew uncontrollable. Every failed scheme, every exposed lie, every moment of doubt gnawed at him. I watched him spiral, barely containing his hatred, barely noticing the threads I had woven. Jahak's arrogance became his weakness. He reached for power in reckless ways, stepping on allies and making enemies with every move. And each step of his miscalculation played into my hands. The two of them were collapsing under the weight of their own hubris. One evening, after a long day of observing their missteps, I returned to the silver forest. Min greeted me quietly. They are faltering, aren't they? Yes, I admitted, leaning against him. Haman, Jahak, they are unraveling. But I cannot rush. I must wait for the perfect moment. Min pressed a hand to my shoulder. You are no longer powerless. But remember, Roman, vengeance is not only about punishment. It is about reclaiming yourself. And you have done that. Do not lose yourself in the desire to destroy. I nodded, heart steady. I will not. I will be precise. I will be just. And when the time comes, they will pay in full. He cupped my face gently. And I will be here, Roman. Every step, every breath, every victory. Together. I leaned into him, savoring the warmth, the comfort, the promise of a future where I would never be betrayed again. Weeks passed, and my plan advanced flawlessly. Haman's envy erupted in a public confrontation. A leaked email revealed his deceit to the company. Colleagues turned against him, and the CEO publicly reprimanded him. Jahak, hearing of Haman's humiliation, attempted to salvage the situation, only to be caught manipulating financial records. The cracks widened. Fear and paranoia replaced his arrogance. I watched from the sidelines, a calm observer. They think they are safe, I murmured. But the web is complete. And I am in control. A quiet promise. That night, under the twin moons, Min held me close. Roman, he whispered, voice steady and warm. You have come so far. You are no longer the weak brother they sought to destroy. You are the one they should fear. I rested my head against his chest, listening to the steady heartbeat that had become my anchor. I know, and I will not fail. Not them. Not us. Not this life. He kissed my forehead softly. Then let the next phase begin. But remember, I will be here. Always. I closed my eyes, the wind of the silver forest rustling around us, and for the first time in years felt complete. Strong. Loved. Unstoppable. And as the twin moons shone above, I whispered a vow to myself, to Min, to the universe. The reckoning is coming, and they will not survive it. The city was quiet that night, but the air carried tension. I felt it vibrating in my veins, humming through my aura, whispering of the inevitability that was about to unfold. Haman and Jahak believed themselves untouchable. That arrogance would be their undoing. And I was ready, watching the puppets fall. Haman had grown reckless. His arrogance burned like wildfire, blinding him to the network of traps I had laid. Jahak, desperate to salvage power, made mistakes that were impossible to conceal. I observed them both from a distance, my aura simmering with controlled power. They are so predictable, I whispered to myself. Every move they make only tightens the chains around them. A faint smile curved my lips. Patience had been key. Watching them unravel on their own, without exposing myself prematurely, was more satisfying than any direct confrontation. The first confrontation. Heyman came to my office that evening, fury in his eyes. "Roman," he hissed, voice low and dangerous. "What are you doing to me? To us?" I looked up calmly, letting the quiet in the room press against him. "I'm giving you exactly what you created for me. Consequences. Justice. Fate." He bared his teeth in frustration. "It should have been me. Everything should be mine. How dare you?" I stood slowly, feeling the hum of my aura radiate around me. My voice was low, measured, but deadly. "You think you could take my life and my world, Heyman? You think your betrayal could erase me? Look at yourself. Your arrogance, your greed, your envy, it has destroyed you. I merely gave it form." He faltered, a flicker of fear breaking through his rage. What are you?" I let a single strand of my aura flare subtly around me. He flinched. "Someone you underestimated." Meanwhile, Jahak had cornered himself with his reckless dealings. Associates I had quietly influenced turned against him. Contracts were voided, allies disappeared. Every scheme he had tried to manipulate for power crumbled into ruin. One night, I confronted him quietly, a mere shadow in his office. "Roman, you've changed," he said, eyes wide with unease. "You're stronger, smarter, impossible." I smiled faintly. "Not impossible. Just patient." He stammered, stepping back. I can fix this." "I can." "You cannot," I said softly, but with a steel edge beneath my voice. "The world you built on deceit and betrayal is collapsing, and you are powerless to stop it." He fell to his knees, realization crushing him as the weight of his mistakes and his betrayal finally landed. I had orchestrated every detail carefully. Heyman was exposed in front of the CEO, employees, and investors. His lies and manipulations were undeniable. Jahak's financial treachery was revealed publicly, cutting him off from allies, money, and influence. Every attempt to escape or fight back only led them deeper into the consequences of their actions. I watched as they crumbled under the weight of their own sins. And then, I approached them. Standing tall, aura glowing faintly, I felt a surge of clarity, power, and righteous anger. "You too," I said, voice calm but lethal, "took everything from me. My life, my trust, my peace. You thought you could escape justice. But I am here now, and there is no escape." Heyman's face twisted in fury. You think you can?" I cut him off with a quiet, commanding whisper. "I don't think." "I know." And with that, the final reckoning began. I didn't strike recklessly. I didn't need to. My aura alone made them flinch, fear rooting them in place. "You believed you could destroy me," I said softly, voice dripping with calm venom. "But in your arrogance, you underestimated the strength of someone who survived betrayal and death." Jahak trembled. "Roman, I'm sorry. I shook my head. "Too late. Apologies are meaningless. You will live with the consequences of your choices forever." Heyman lunged at me in a last desperate attempt. My energy flared, subtly controlled, not to kill, but to immobilize. His strength was nothing against the power I now wielded. He collapsed, gasping. Jahak tried to intervene. I met his gaze steadily, aura flaring once more. "You will not harm me again." And in that instant they understood. They were defeated. Through all of this, Min remained quietly beside me. His hand found mine, fingers intertwining. "You did it," he murmured softly, voice calm yet proud. "You've taken back everything that was yours. And more." I exhaled, the weight of years of grief, betrayal, and rage finally lifting. "Yes. And it feels nothing like revenge alone. It feels justice. And liberation." He smiled, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "You are unstoppable. And you are loved. Don't forget that, Roman." I leaned into him, allowing myself the comfort, the warmth, the intimacy I had denied for so long. Heyman and Jahak were left broken, not dead, but powerless. Their wealth, influence, and standing were gone. They had only themselves to blame, trapped in the ruins of their own choices. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. Watching them squirm under the consequences of their betrayal was enough. Min held me as the twin moons rose above the city, silver light spilling across the rooftops. "They can no longer hurt you," he whispered. "No," I agreed, voice steady. "And neither can anyone else." For the first time in years, I felt complete. That night, alone with Min, I allowed myself to finally relax. "I never thought I could feel safe again," I admitted, voice low. "You are safe," he murmured, pressing his lips to my forehead. "Here. With me. Always." I leaned into him, letting the warmth of his body and the steadiness of his presence fill me completely. No more betrayals, I whispered. No more lies. Only us. Only love. Only peace. Min's hand cupped my cheek. Only us, he echoed. And under the silver light of the twin moons, I understood something I had never believed possible. I had survived death. I had reclaimed my life. And I had found love that was stronger than any betrayal, deeper than any grief, and brighter than any past darkness. Haemin and Jahak were gone from my world. And Min was everything I had ever needed. The city felt different now. Not because it had changed, but because I had. No longer the powerless twin, no longer the victim of betrayal and poison. I walked these streets with a confidence that radiated like sunlight through mist. Every corner, every shadow, every street reminded me. I had survived death. I had returned stronger. I had reclaimed everything. And I had Min. The first morning after the reckoning, Min and I walked through the gardens of my estate. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of blooming silver lilies. You've done it, he said softly, intertwining his fingers with mine. The world that tried to destroy you, it knows your power now. And it respects you. I smiled faintly. They should have respected me before. But it doesn't matter anymore. What matters is this life we have now. Together. He kissed my temple, warm and gentle. Together, always. I closed my eyes, letting the sun and his warmth sink into me. I never imagined that I could feel this safe. That I could love again and be loved. You deserve it, he whispered. Everything. And nothing will take this from us. For the first time in my life, I truly believed it. Meanwhile, Haemin and Jahak were broken, powerless, and alone. Haemin, stripped of wealth and position, was forced to live in obscurity, haunted by envy and regret. Every failed attempt to regain status only reminded him of the twin who had always outshone him, and now had the power to destroy him completely. Jahak, once confident and sly, was now isolated, his charm and manipulations useless in a world where every contact he trusted had turned against him. He roamed from place to place, desperate for influence, always one step behind the man he had betrayed. Neither had died, but both lived in a perpetual shadow of failure, unable to enjoy comfort, unable to manipulate others, unable to undo the web they had woven themselves. And I watched from afar, not with glee, but with the calm satisfaction of justice served. They are gone from our lives, I murmured to Min one evening. And they will never hurt anyone again. Min rested his head against mine. You were merciful, he said softly. And that mercy is part of your strength. I smiled faintly. Mercy is nothing if they refuse to change. They had a chance. They wasted it. With the betrayers neutralized, Min and I began to rebuild our lives. Not around revenge, not around fear, but around love and stability. We restored the estate, establishing it as a sanctuary not only for us, but for those in need. I used my influence to create opportunities for others, always mindful of the lessons of betrayal and greed. Min remained by my side, both lover and partner, guiding me, challenging me, and loving me unconditionally. Nights in our home were filled with laughter, warmth, and quiet moments of intimacy where words were unnecessary. Roman, he whispered one night, pressing his forehead to mine. You are home now, and nothing, no one, can take this from you. I cupped his face, gazing into his golden eyes. Home, it's you. Always you. And this life. Nothing else matters. We established our legacy not through wealth alone, but through compassion, strategy, and strength. The city came to recognize Roman not as the boy who was betrayed, but as the man who rose from death, who reclaimed his life, and who created a world where justice and love prevailed. Even those who had once envied me now bowed, not in fear, but in respect. And in the privacy of our home, Min and I thrived. We trained together, we loved together, and we planned for a future that was ours alone. No betrayal, no envy, no greed could touch us again. One evening, under the twin moons, I stood with Min in the gardens. Silver light bathed us, the flowers glowing softly in the quiet night. Do you think they will ever recover? Min asked quietly, eyes thoughtful. I shook my head. No. Haemin and Jahak will live, but only in regret. They will understand what it means to betray someone who trusted them. They will know the consequences, every day of their lives. Min smiled, leaning into me. And we will live every day of our lives together. Free, happy, strong. I wrapped my arms around him, holding him close, letting his warmth seep into me. Yes, together, always. And under the calm light of the twin moons, I felt the full weight of my journey. The pain, the betrayal, the death, the rebirth, and finally, the peace of triumph. I had been poisoned, betrayed, and abandoned. I had been reborn in another world. I had found love, strength, and purpose. And nothing, not Haman, not Jahak, not any shadow of the past, could take it from me. Years had passed. The city had changed in some ways, yet remained the same in others. But I no longer saw it as a place of betrayal or despair. I saw it as a world of possibilities, a world where I could finally live freely, loved, and unafraid. By my side was Min, my anchor, my partner, my soulmate. Together, we had built a life not defined by the past, but by the love and strength we cultivated every day. Our estate had grown into a sanctuary of elegance and warmth. Silver lilies lined the gardens, their blooms glowing faintly under the twin moons. The halls echoed with laughter, warmth, and occasional music. I had reclaimed everything: my business, my wealth, my position. But the greatest treasure was never tangible. It was Min. He walked beside me every day, guiding, supporting, loving. Every touch, every glance, every quiet conversation reminded me that life could be gentle, even after betrayal and death. I never thought I'd feel this safe again, I whispered one evening, leaning into his shoulder. You are safe, he said softly, pressing his lips to my temple. With me. Always. I smiled, heart full. Always, I echoed. As for Haman and Jahak, they remained alive, but that was their curse. Haman had become a shadow of his former self, wandering through life in envy and regret, never achieving anything meaningful. He lived knowing that the twin he had despised had risen above him in every way: intellect, power, and love. Jahak's charm and manipulations had turned to nothing. Every ally he had once trusted abandoned him. Every scheme collapsed. He was left powerless, haunted by the man he had betrayed and the love he had stolen. Neither could reclaim what they had lost. Neither could undo the chains of their envy and greed. And every time I thought of them, it was not with rage but with quiet satisfaction. Justice had been done. Together, Min and I expanded our influence, not for selfish gain, but to create opportunities, stability, and security for others. Those who had suffered from betrayal, envy, or oppression found refuge in our guidance. I trained those who wanted strength, not to dominate, but to protect, to survive, and to rise above cruelty. And always at the center of it all was Min. One night, under the glow of the twin moons, we stood in the gardens. Min's hand held mine, fingers entwined. The silver lilies reflected in his golden eyes, shimmering like the life we had built together. Roman, he whispered, voice steady and warm, look how far we've come. Everything we dreamed, it's real. I brushed a strand of hair from his face, smiling softly. It's more than I could have imagined. I survived betrayal, death, and despair. But with you, I found life. I found love. I found peace. He leaned into me, lips brushing my forehead. And we will continue to find it every day. Yes, I said, heart full. Every day together. I thought of the past, the poison, the lies, the betrayal. I thought of Haman and Jahak, of the pain they caused and the life I had lost. But all of that had led me here, to this moment, to a life of love, respect, and purpose. The twin moons rose high above, silver light bathing the gardens. I felt Min's heartbeat against mine, steady, unwavering. And I knew, without a doubt, I had survived death. I had reclaimed my life. I had found love that could never be taken. And I had built a world where darkness no longer ruled. Haman and Jahak had their bitter endings. I had mine, one of triumph, healing, and happiness. I took Min's hand, squeezing it gently. Forever, then? Forever, he replied, voice filled with certainty. And under the calm light of the twin moons, I finally smiled without fear, without regret, without pain. Roman was home, and Min was everything. Together, we were unstoppable. The years passed, yet some nights, the city remained quiet in a way that whispered secrets. Min and I had grown not just in love, but in influence. Our home, once a place of refuge, had become a sanctuary for the worthy, those who sought guidance, protection, or a second chance at life. I walked through the halls of our estate, sunlight glinting off polished wood and silver accents. Min's presence was constant behind me, his hand brushing mine occasionally, a subtle reminder that no matter the burdens or memories of the past, we were together. Power is a curious thing. I had it now, more than I could have imagined. Companies, lands, networks of influence. I had rebuilt my life stronger than ever. Yet with power came vigilance. I had seen what betrayal could do. I had witnessed Haman and Jahak's greed firsthand. And I knew, even years later, that shadows lingered where envy and lust had once thrived. Haman remained broken, wandering in obscurity. Every attempt to regain status ended in failure. His life had become a mirror of his envy, always reaching for what could not be touched. Jahak's arrogance had finally dissolved into bitter paranoia. He survived, but lived under the weight of isolation, unable to manipulate or deceive anyone again. Their lives were cautionary tales, reminders that betrayal and greed leave marks that no cunning can erase. I paused in the garden as Min approached, carrying 2 cups of tea. He handed me one, brushing his fingers lightly against mine. "You are quiet today," he remarked, eyes soft yet probing. "Thinking about them again?" I shook my head, smiling faintly. "No, I'm thinking about us. About the future. About what we can build together, not what we destroyed." Min knelt beside me, tracing the rim of the cup with his finger. "And what do you see?" I gazed at him, golden eyes catching the sunlight. "I see a life filled with love, trust, and strength. I see a home where we are safe. I see a future where nothing, no envy, no betrayal, no death can touch us." He smiled, warm and serene. "Then let's make that future ours. Completely. No shadows, no fear." I nodded, heart full. "Completely. Forever." Yet, life has a way of reminding even the strongest that shadows never fully disappear. Haman's bitterness occasionally reached my ears, rumors whispered by those he tried to manipulate. He still nursed envy, still imagined a world where he had won. But now those whispers only amused me. I had grown too strong, too precise, too untouchable. Jahak occasionally sought allies, attempting to regain what he lost. Each attempt ended in failure. Every move only confirmed his impotence. He had been broken, not in body, but in influence, in spirit, and in reputation. I watched them from a distance, never intervening unnecessarily. Their suffering was not my cruelty. It was the consequence of their own making. Min and I expanded our efforts, reaching beyond the city. We offered protection and guidance to those who had been wronged, building networks of loyalty, trust, and gratitude. I trained those who sought strength, not to dominate but to defend. I taught the importance of vigilance, compassion, and discernment. And always Min remained beside me, teacher, lover, partner. "Roman," he whispered one evening as we watched the sun set over the city. "Look how far we've come. All of this, it's ours. Built with love, strength, and patience." I took his hand, squeezing gently. "And we will continue building. For us, for those who need guidance, and for anyone who has been betrayed. Love and justice will rule here, not fear." Later that night, under the twin moons, we stood together in the gardens. Silver light spilled over the lilies and the paths we had walked so many times before. "I've never felt this complete," I admitted, leaning into Min's chest. "After everything, after betrayal, after death. I never thought I'd feel safe or loved again." "You are safe," Min whispered, brushing a hand through my hair. "You are loved, and you always will be. This life, our life, is proof that even in the darkest moments, light can prevail." I closed my eyes, letting his warmth wash over me. "Then we will never let it fade. No shadows, no lies, no betrayal." He kissed my forehead gently. "Never. Always us." And under the silver light of the twin moons, I realized something profound. I had survived death, reclaimed life, and discovered love beyond imagination. The past could no longer hurt me. The future belonged to us. Forever. The city had grown quiet at night, silver light spilling over rooftops like gentle silk. But shadows still lingered in corners where envy and greed had once thrived. Haman and Jahak had survived, yes, but only to exist as hollow remnants of themselves, hunted by the consequences of every choice they had ever made. I watched them from a distance, invisible and untouchable, feeling no hatred, only the quiet satisfaction of justice. They had wanted my life, my love, my everything, and in their obsession, they had destroyed themselves. I exhaled, feeling the wind brush against my face. The air smelled of jasmine and freedom, the scent of life reclaimed. And at my side, Min. Haman had tried once more to reclaim power, but every move he made now met with disaster. Associates betrayed him, opportunities collapsed, and whispers of his betrayal followed him wherever he went. He had no friends, no influence, no hope. Jahak had attempted to manipulate wealth and connections to gain an advantage, but his every effort was crushed by the network we had built and the exposure of his past crimes. He was powerless, desperate, and alone. I never had to touch them. Their lives became a living punishment, a slow, suffocating collapse of all that they had once taken for granted. They are shadows now, I whispered to Min one evening, as we watched the last rays of sunlight fade into night. Hunted by their own choices. They can never rise again. Min rested his head against my shoulder. And we are free. Truly free. I held him close, letting the warmth of his body remind me of what mattered most. Free and loved. That is all that matters. That night, the estate was quiet, the gardens glowing under the silver moonlight. I took Min's hand, fingers entwining, as we walked along the path lined with silver lilies. Do you remember, I murmured, when all I wanted was to protect everyone, even the ones who betrayed me? Min chuckled softly. And yet here we are. You've not only protected yourself, you've created a life where love reigns. I stopped, turning to him, and traced a gentle finger along his cheek. You are my life, Min. The past, the betrayals, they mean nothing now. Nothing matters except us. He leaned into my touch, closing his eyes. And I will never leave you. Not in this world nor any other. I cupped his face with both hands, pressing my forehead to his. Then stay close to me, always. Let me show you, every day, what love can be. His lips brushed mine in a tender, lingering kiss, soft as moonlight. Show me, he whispered, voice trembling with desire and devotion. And so I did. We retreated into the warmth of our private quarters, the silver light of the twin moons spilling through open windows. Min's hands moved with reverence over me, gentle and yet insistent, a perfect balance of love and desire. I responded in kind, tracing every line of his body as if committing it to memory. Roman, he murmured, his voice low and trembling, I've never felt this complete. You are mine, I whispered, pressing my lips to his jaw, his neck, each kiss a silent promise. And I am yours. Always. Forever. Hours passed in a haze of warmth, laughter, whispered promises, and soft moans. Every touch, every kiss, every gentle bite was a testament to the love we had fought to preserve. When we finally lay together, bodies entwined, hearts beating in sync, I whispered, Nothing can take this from us, Min. Not Haman, not Jahak, not even the shadow of betrayal. He nuzzled into my chest, sighing contentedly. And I will hold you for all time. The next morning, the sun rose over our gardens, illuminating silver petals that glistened with dew. Min and I stood together on the balcony, wrapped in soft robes, our hands intertwined. I never imagined life could be like this, I admitted, breathing in the crisp morning air. Peaceful, full of love, safe. He smiled, leaning into me. You fought for this, Roman. And now it is ours. Every day will be ours. I pressed my lips to his temple, feeling warmth spread through me. And every day, I will love you more than the day before. You are my heart, my soul, my forever. He kissed me softly, lingering, letting the morning sunlight shine on us as we held each other. And you are mine, Roman. My life, my love, my everything. Even as we basked in love, the consequences of Haman and Jahak lingered in whispers. They were shadows in the corners of the city, wandering broken and bitter, hunted by the weight of their own choices. Haman had been expelled from any position of influence. His envy had poisoned every attempt at a fresh start, leaving him a shadow of the man he once imagined he would be. Jahak's arrogance had failed him completely. He roamed alone, unable to trust anyone, unable to manipulate, unable to ever touch what he had once desired. My love, my life, my happiness. I never needed to strike them again. Their choices had hunted them to ruin. I held Min close, whispering into his hair. They are nothing to us now. Shadows that cannot reach us. Only we exist and always will. In the weeks and months that followed, Min and I lived fully. We built our estate into a home filled with laughter, music, and warmth. We traveled, trained, and nurtured the lives of those who sought our protection. Nights were long, filled with intimacy and whispered promises. Days were purposeful, filled with influence, care, and the joy of life reclaimed. Our love grew deeper with each passing day. Min's hands were always warm in mine, his voice always steady, his heart always mine. Roman, he said one evening, brushing his lips against mine. No matter what comes, I will always choose you. Always. And I will always choose you, I replied, holding him tightly. Forever. Beyond any shadow, beyond any world, always you. And under the light of the twin moons, in the quiet of our sanctuary, we knew. The past was gone. The shadows were powerless. And love, true love, would endure forever.